Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Let's talk a little bit about Ramon Cardenas, because this fighter, 29 years of age, orthodox fighter, super bantamweight, he's from San Antonio, Texas. He gave Naoya Inoue a real struggle. Put him on the floor in the second round, and it was a legitimate knockdown. It was a very heavy, well, not very heavy knockdown, but it was a heavy knockdown. It wasn't a flash knockdown. And of course, eventually he got stopped in the 8th round. But his performance in that fight has raised his stock. And in light of what happened at the weekend with those two appalling cards from Riyadh and Times Square in New York, I think when you know those cards contain so many fighters. Obviously, William Skull. I don't never want to see him in a boxing ring again. A pathetic non-effort. But you had people like Jose Ramirez against Devin Haney, who just plodded after him, doing nothing. Then you had Haney himself literally running around the ring, just touching, popping, with doing nothing at all. Definitely fully aware of the beating he'd taken from Ryan Garcia in his previous fight, that so-called no contest, not pet allegations, bans and Garcia coming overweight and everything. It had an effect on Haney psychologically. His psyche seemed fractured, to put it mildly. Then you had Garcia himself losing to Rowley, another non-effort. So you had all these, stars, in inverted commas, stars. And then you had this unknown guy called Cardenas. And this guy, okay, the idea of a boxing match is obviously to win. Absolutely. You can't. Yeah, he lost. Okay. But if you absolutely have to lose, your stock can rise if you give everything, if you leave it all in the ring, as they say. And Cardenas, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he's moved up. He'll be remembered, and he'll get other work, and he'll get other opportunities, maybe to be a champion. I mean, he wasn't entirely unknown coming in, even though he was a rank underdog against Inoue, because his previous fight, he beat Brian Acosta, who was undefeated in 20 fights. He won a unanimous 12-round decision over him. And then several fights before that, back in 2023, he beat Rafael Pedrosa, who was also undefeated. He stopped him in 2 rounds. Pedrosa had 15 wins and no draws, no defeats, I think. So he scored good wins, very good wins. But of course, if you're in the same division as Inoue, just about everyone is classed as being an underdog. Well, Cardenas, with that second round knockdown, which was right at the end of the round, had it been earlier, it would have been interesting to see if Inoue could have fiddled his way through it. Inoue showed his brilliance by going through the gears, recouping, recovering, and doing what he does best. But it does cast a slight question mark over Inoue. What's his ceiling weight-wise? And 122, he's the undisputed champ. Go to 126. How would you fancy him against a 6'1" what's his name? Mexican fella. I can't remember his name. Rafael. Well, the 6'1". You know how many 6'1" featherweights? You know what I mean? Or the 5'2" Nick Ball. Espinosa, Rafael Espinosa. How would you fancy him at 126? I think that's definitely a ceiling for Inoue. But getting back to Cardenas, I mean, he was working. I think he was working as a forklift driver or something like that? He had a regular job anyway, which is nothing wrong with that, of course. A lot of fighters do. But I think he quit in 2023, and he was able to, he had a bit of money, he was able to dedicate himself to the sport fully. And it just shows you, if you can be a full-time professional, what you can achieve, how high you can go. And he's talked in the past about struggling financially, as many, many fighters do. He just needed money to live, he said. He wasn't living a luxurious lifestyle by any stretch of the imagination. He said that the Rafael Pedrosa win was the turning point against an undefeated fighter. Suddenly people were noticing him and maybe sponsoring him. And, so he built on that, but he stayed professional up to the point where an opportunity came along and then he took it with both hands. Are you paying attention, Martin Bakoli, with your 300-pound weight? And he talked I read an article on Boxing Scene with Cardenas, and he talked about not really feeling any pressure because he was largely unknown. Well, that's going to change now because everyone's going to be looking at him and saying, "Oh, that's the guy who gave Inoue a real fight," and they're paying attention also to his victories more and saying, "Actually, this guy can really fight. He's actually beaten some good men," which he has. And I wish him well because even though he did lose, it's like I say, if you leave it all in the ring, how can you stock not rise? I mean, Conor Benn lost to Chris Eubank Jr. recently. Look how his stock has just shot through the roof. People in America know him now, and all over the world, even though that was very much a domestic fight. It was such a great fight, and it was such a great effort. That suddenly Conor Benn, the PED stuff is largely forgotten, and you can be reborn if you make an effort, if you stay dedicated, if you show some real dedication. And also Cardenas comes across as being a nice guy out of the ring as well, quiet and friendly, and I think this is a lesson for a lot of other people who are, like I said earlier, those people on the Times Square card, plus Mr. Skull, grinning and laughing his way through a complete non-effort and then collecting millions of dollars at the end of it against Canelo. Although having said that, of course, Canelo himself looked like an old man plodding after him, and I think Canelo, I did a video about this, Canelo deserves a lot of criticism for that as well, especially as he's taking pay-per-view money to do fuck all, to go through the motions. That's not good enough. So Cardenas, I think, will get other opportunities. He's 29 as well, so he's probably in his prime. But this performance, even though he did lose, I think his confidence will go up, up, up. We'll go into the ring against Inoue. I thought he looked a little bit tight, but it was probably the event. It was in Vegas, so he suddenly, this was his big coming out party. He was, and he was a bit tight. But once the fight got going, I thought he boxed very, very intelligently, and it wasn't just the left hook. He was trying to catch Inoue with the left hook consistently, but he was firing good right hands, straight rights and overhand rights, which I thought were at least threatening to Inoue. But Inoue's Inoue. He did what he did. Did what he always does eventually. But I don't know. You tell me what you think. Who do you like to see Cardenas in with next? Do you think he'll get a shot at one of the vacant belts when Inoue eventually moves up? But I don't know. Maybe Cardenas will move up to featherweight and take on him against Nick Ball. Would be a good row, wouldn't it? But I'm a firm believer you should stay in your weight division until you outgrow it, which is what Inoue has talked of doing. He said, "I'm not going up to featherweight as long as I can make super bantamweight," which is the right attitude to have, I think. But let me know what you think. Give me your opinions. Comments below as usual. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. Please hit the like button if you could, if you like the video. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. All right. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'll catch you later. Bye for now.